Well, I am pretty glad to be here. Right now, I just arrived to the Rosebud Reservation and I am excited. I drove all night from Illinois, got here to Gregory, South Dakota, 5:30 this morning. So I met up with Ben. Ben took me out, showed me some of the places where he's got blinds set up. So what we did is we went back, got all my gear together. Now I'm gonna shoot and then we're gonna go hunt the blind. And we've got a really good spot for this evening. He's got 2 ground blinds out, several different tree stand setups, but he has got some giants in there. In fact, he's got cutty back pictures of probably 5, 6 different shooter bucks. So my truck's kind of full, but everything's in here, I think. So we're gonna shoot my bow, make sure it's on, then head in the blind this afternoon. If everything works well, we're gonna sit it all day tomorrow, put the decoy out, and hopefully we'll have a little luck. But gotta make sure that bow's shooting good first.
The reservation is located in central South Dakota. Basically consists of a lot of rolling hills, pine country, a lot of creek bottoms. You know, there's a lot of prairie ground, and the land base is right under 1 million acres. So there's a lot of land to hunt and a lot of area to cover. It kind of runs in about 5 different counties. So, you know, it's spread out in a pretty broad range of area.
Now, one thing I like to do is bring a target right in my truck, because when I get to a new spot, my truck, it gets bounced all over. I'm going through the brush, and I want to make sure that my bow is still shooting. So I'll just grab a few arrows, make sure at 20, 30 yards it's shooting. When you're bow hunting, confidence is huge. So for me, I like to know everything's on, nothing got messed up. Great way to get a couple shots in before you go to the blind, and then I should be set. Now, I wasn't going to put my decoy out, but when I got here, this is just a perfect location. You can see forever. So what I've got is I've got this buck facing this way. A lot of the deer are back this direction. So what I'm thinking is if they come in, that way it'll want them, make them come around to the front. We've got a pretty good wind. They're going to come around this side, I hope. Buck looks good. I've got my rattling antlers. Beautiful spot here. It's a little hot, but I'm gonna spray them down and then get in the blind. I've also got some of this. I'm gonna put this out right up by our blind. That way if they get downwind, they can smell us. And they'll smell what we want them to smell. The first night we decided we're gonna sit right up high. That way we can see exactly what's going on, get a feel for the area, then make our moves accordingly. We're here for our first sit in South Dakota tonight. We've got a beautiful location. Unfortunately, it is extremely hot, but we've got our decoy out front, we've got a pond down below, and this is really just a natural funnel for these deer to come through. There's a big green field up on top, so got a beautiful location. It's hot as can be for the beginning of November, but I'm hoping the rut is on and this is gonna be the place to be. Well, as we sat up there, we saw an absolute monster all the way across, all the way down by this one tree, and that was the big buck that we were after. And I thought, that's all we need. We need to get down there to make a move, but I didn't want to get too aggressive. And that's one of the hard parts of whitetail hunting, is really finding that balance between being too aggressive and blowing deer out and not being too passive and not getting in where you need to be. So instead of going marching down right to that tree, I thought, you know what, no. We're gonna go to the next blind, we're gonna set up there, and then see what's going on.
This segment was brought to you by Sportsman's Alliance. Our heritage, our fight. Protecting hunting from coast to coast.
Did you know that Montana adopted hunter harassment laws in 1986, becoming one of the first states in the country for protecting sportsmen from anti-hunters out in the field? All the states in the U.S. have the hunter harassment laws, but the majority are using the language developed by the USSA. Just another fun fact showing how sportsmen and women are making a difference. When it comes to hunting big bucks, there's a ton of great spots all across the United States. But one of my favorite destinations is heading to South Dakota. Now on this trip, where I was going, well, I was going to be hunting the Rosebud Reservation, and I was going to be hunting with my good friend Ben Bearshield. Now the cool part about this area is you are dealing with such large tracts of land. You have so many opportunities and places to hunt, and if you're willing to put in the time and do the scouting, they have some absolute giants there. Now on this hunt, we were starting off way up high. We wanted to make sure we could see everything and get a good idea of what's going on. It was more of an observation blind to start with, but Ben had been out there earlier, put 2 blinds out, and I knew we were going to be set because some of the cutty back pictures he had were absolutely unbelievable. So the next day, we move from that top blind, we go all the way down to the lower blind, set up there, and then see what's going on. Been in the blind now for several hours. We've got the decoy out. I actually put it a little further than I did in the past. The reason why, I had a little bit more elevation, and I want to make sure that when I rattle, grunt, any of these bucks that might come in can see it, whether they're down low or up top. So the biggest thing is just having that visual as well. I'm trying to use the sounds, grunting, rattling, snort, wheeze to bring them in, and then that should lock them in. But got cool temperatures. It's supposed to get cooler for the next couple of days, so I think this is going to be an awesome spot. We're going to plant ourselves right here and wait for one of these big bucks to come in. Now this is an area that Ben knows well. He knows where all these deer are, he knows where the really good hunting is, and he put in a lot of time scouting. Now as we come in, we didn't know that much to get things started. But it doesn't take long once you're going to really get a feel for the land, to get a feel for what these deer are doing, and get in tune with it. Right now it's noon. We've been sitting out here all day, and the great news is we've had activity all morning. It was really hot and heavy till probably 10 o'clock, then it kind of quit. Now at noon, we just saw a nice big shooter buck down by the cedar tree where our cuttyback is. We've got does up and on their feet over here. It's really, really good. And that's why I like to sit midday. We may not have as much movement going on, but those are 2 deer that we would have missed had we gone in for lunch. So we're just enjoying the day out here. It's beautiful. It was very cold this morning. There was frost on the ground. Nice, cool, crisp conditions. And now it's turning into a pretty nice day. So I think this afternoon it's really going to heat up. The bottom line is it could happen at any moment. We could have a big buck come in, see our decoy, and decide to fight it. I think it's just a matter of time. We're watching, and we've got bucks coming through. In fact, we had a nice mule deer come through. We had does feeding in close, but the big bucks all seem to like one specific area. Now, it's kind of hard when you see all the bucks there and you think, well, should I move or should I stay? I didn't want to get too close, and I wanted to make sure we had the right wind. This was not the only area that held bucks. We had lots of options. So instead of hunting the ground blind again, we switched gears and moved to a tree stand.
This segment was brought to you by Boss Buck. For the most user-friendly and dependable feeder on the market, choose Boss Buck feeders. Now you're getting serious. Winchester Deadly Passion is presented by Cuttyback Digital. More deer, fewer blanks. Hard-hitting Easton Arrows. Golden Triangle Whitetail. Winchester, celebrating 150 years of legendary excellence. Scent Killer Gold with Hunt Dry technology. Apply it, dry it, and go hunt. Rage Broadheads, leading the evolution in lethal technology. Sportsman's Alliance, protecting hunting from coast to coast. Engel Coolers, the original high-performance cooler company. And Moose Utility Division, your leader in ATV, UTV accessories.
a whitetail hunter, there's a lot of really great places to go all around the United States. But for me, one of my favorite locations is South Dakota. Now what I like about South Dakota is there's so many different places to get tags. You can do East River, you can do West River, you can do tribal ground. And on this hunt, we were going to be hunting the Rosebud Reservation with my good friend Ben Bearshield.
Well, the hunting on the reservation, there's a wide range of species, anywhere from mule deer and whitetails to turkeys and coyotes and antelope, and then in certain parts of the reservation there's elk. So we pretty much offer big game, small game, all the way out to like birds and pheasants and ducks and stuff like that.
Now, we were hunting right during the peak of the rut. We were there at the beginning of November, probably one of my favorite weeks in the entire year to be hunting whitetails. Well, as we were going, we realized we can't get stuck just hunting one location. We need to mix it up. Ben had tree stands hung, he had other blinds. We didn't want to get all set in just one area and so focused. There were lots of other good bucks. So we decided after a couple of moves, we're gonna try a tree stand. We're gonna go in, we're gonna try that out. Well, we've been sitting in a blind and now Ben's got an idea to put us in a tree stand, and you got a pretty good spot here. Tell me a little bit about this spot.
Well, we got two creeks that come together and the stand is right there. So, and there's another big draw that runs into the major creek. So you're gonna probably be 20 yards off the intersection where the two creeks come together. A lot of activity down there. There's some really heavy trails. We got really cool weather. The deer are moving. We just saw a buck running, chasing a doe as we walked in. So I think it should be a good afternoon.
So what you're saying is I should have been out here all day.
We should already be in the stand, I think. So. Follow this ridge line down right here, and when you get to that last big cedar there, kind of just take a right and follow it down in there. It should be like 50 yards down in there.
Sounds good.
Good luck.
Thank you. The temps have really dropped. It's November. These bucks have got to be running. Just a beautiful area. We're in a big, deep ravine. We've got some nice open areas around us. It really gives the deer a nice staging area, chase around in here. We've got great shot opportunities here. So we're gonna sit it out nice and cold, just what I like. And it's November. No better place to be in the entire world than a tree right now. It was a really beautiful location. We got down there, got set up. He had some giant bucks, some long tine deer coming through that area, and the trouble is, they just didn't come while we were there. Now, I know the trails were good, we had a wonderful setup, we had the right wind, but for whatever reason, they just weren't rolling through. Well, I know it might look like I've been out playing in the mud more than hunting, but we've had some really, really rainy, wet, muddy conditions around here. But the good news is we made it out here. We're actually hunting in the same place that we started. We're gonna go down to a ground blind. We've got that pond funneling the deer around, and the reason I like this spot, it's where the most action is. It's November 5th. It is the peak of the rut. I wanna be where those does are. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get my decoy out, I'm gonna get the chairs, put them in the blind, and the next 2.5 days, we are parking it here from dark to dark. Hopefully one of those big bucks will come by. So really excited. Truck, perfect camouflage, so I think we'll be set and nothing will ever notice it.
Memory Chase, building our future, one child at a time.
Memory Chase is all about getting more kids involved and features home video from viewers just like you. This week we're heading to Illinois with 13-year-old Tori Ann Gardner.
Little kick on there. Yeah.
That's exactly the deer. It's big, tall. Shoot him.
night? What do you think?
I like it.
You like it?
If you or someone you know has youth hunting footage that they'd like to share, we'd love to feature their hunt. Visit memorychase.com for details. So a chance to see your kids on TV, a new mission bow, plus tons of other great gear for each weekly winner, why not enter today? Memory Chase, building our future one child at a time.
Winchester Deadly Passion is presented by Winchester, celebrating 150 years of legendary excellence. Matthews Archery, catch us if you can. Field and Stream, where traditions begin. ScoutLookWeather.com. Download the free ScoutLook hunting app for your smartphone. Reinhardt, the best archery targets in the world. Analogics, protect your deer herd with the power of science. Winchester, the American legend. Sure Shot Jewelry. Check out the Melissa Bachman collection today. And Boss Buck, for the most user-friendly and dependable feeder on the market. Now you're getting serious. Closed captioning is brought to you by Cuddyback Digital. Upgrade to Cuddyback and your images will never look better.
When you're out hunting and you're hunting with friends or whatever you're doing, one of the difficult things you'll always run into is the fact of how aggressive to be. Should you be too much or are you not being enough? Because there's a fine balance there, and if you don't watch that line, well, you can end up blowing out the deer, or you can also have issues because you're not getting where you need to be. So we decided to go back to that same location, but this time we wanted to move even closer. I decided enough just kind of waiting around. I wanted to make a bold move and get in right where we needed to be. The trouble is, you can't just pop up a ground blind when you're whitetail hunting. You really do need to brush it in. So what I was looking for is a shady area that I could tuck that blind in so that way it really wouldn't stick out quite as much. It'd be a little bit protected. So as we did that, we put it in there, we set up, and the very first thing that we see coming through, a big old mule deer. He comes in, he's actually raking the tree in front of us, and I thought, this is the absolute perfect location. But what I didn't realize is that muleys will come in for your whitetail decoys. Seemed completely crazy to me, but it really was a great feeling. It was within 5 minutes of being in the blind, and this muley had already come in. So now I had an idea of what these bucks would do with my decoy in that situation, and we decided to set up for it. We just had a buck come into the decoy, but the problem is I set him up by that bush thinking they'd rake the bush and then come over, and he used that bush to hide behind, and that's the last thing I want. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tilt that decoy just a little bit more. I'm going to have the wind blowing like this, so hopefully they're going to try to get around him. I'll have a shot that entire way, but I thought the bush was going to be a good idea, but you know, every buck's going to be different, but I don't want that to happen again, so I'm going to crawl out there now, change him up a little bit, and then get back in the blind. Now, as we were sitting there, we had another buck come in, and I'm talking decoy perfectly in, just how you'd want it. The trouble is, I just didn't think he was quite big enough. This was a beautiful deer, and as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, everything's working perfect. He's decoying in. He is absolutely beautiful. But instead of taking the shot, I decided to pass because I knew what Ben had here, and I really felt we had a great chance. We were there at the right time of the year. The bucks were acting right. We had deer all over, and honestly, I don't think I wanted the fun to end. I was having too good of a time. So I let him walk, and afterwards I was thinking, I don't know, I might have just made a huge mistake. That's a beautiful buck by all accounts, but I decided to pass. I showed Ben, and he said the same thing. We've got huge deer here. Might as well enjoy it. You're here, we're having fun, we're decoying these bucks in. There'll be more.